All right, we're just 2 days away now from the $16 million Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream Park. Ray, we know the post positions and the odds to start out with. Earlier in the week, we talked about one of the long shots, Stellar Wind. So let's give some love to some of the other outliers in this field and see what their chances might be. So make a case for one or two of the long shots that you like.
Well, the way this race sets up, I think the pace is going to be extremely fast. If we have a meltdown, and I'm not saying we will, but if we have a meltdown, I'm looking at two horses. Gunnevera, last year's Fountain of Youth winner, who ran okay in the Breeders' Cup, and War Story, who finished fourth in the Breeders' Cup behind Gunrunner. What happened? How can we reverse that? Well, he made a menacing move on the turn and then flattened out. War Story did. And it just seemed like nobody was backing up that day. So if there's a meltdown and if the speed falls apart, those two.
Yeah, and Gunnevera has a very good record at Gulfstream Park. War Story is one of those horses that when you bet him, he doesn't do anything. But if you don't bet him, he wins or something. He drives me crazy. He's one of those horses. But Gunnevera has a good record at Gulfstream. I think the question is, will the track play fair enough so that if there is a pace meltdown, that the closers can, make up some ground, which they didn't do at the Del Mar surface, at least in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So that's the big question. I think one of the horses you have to look out for, who also has a very good record at Gulfstream, is Fear the Cowboy. He's 30-1 on the morning line. His last race was competitive speed figure-wise with these, and he's 4 for 6 at Gulfstream, never out of the money. The most intriguing horse, however, has to be Toast of New York. The last time he was seen on U.S. soil was in the Breeders' Cup Classic against Bayern. He lost a nose, and before that he finished second to Shared Belief. That's some pretty good form. And then he went off to stud, and now he's back. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a long layoff. I can't think of another horse that's been gone that long and returned to top competition. The closest I can think of is Precisionist, who was the 1985 Sprint champion. He went to stud. He was infertile, and Fred Hooper, the owner, who has a race named after him on Saturday's undercard, brought him back, and he turned out to be okay. But I just think that Toast of New York has a huge hill to climb here.
But according to his trainer and his connections, the story is pretty interesting and might lead to something special. Who knows? He's only had one race since that Breeders' Cup Classic, and that was his lead-up race to this. But the trainer said he's galloping as well as he's ever seen him. The horse is ultra competitive, and he just looks in great shape. And it's not like he went off to stud and had a book of 200 mares. He had like 10 or 15 mares. So I don't think it was especially taxing. I think he's very intriguing.
Nevertheless, if I were Stellar Wind, I'd watch my back. And he also gets Frankie Dettori. That's a plus.
Yeah, that's cool to have him back. He hasn't been at Gulfstream Park in 2 decades. The whole card, though, really is good betting. I mean, if you look top to bottom, deep fields, it should be a fantastic horse player's dream on Saturday at Gulfstream.
Yeah, over $1 million in purses on the undercard, a lot of stakes races, some really good maiden races, too. Some up-and-coming stars, I think.
You can always bet it. NYRA Bets. You can bet any track, anywhere, anytime, and we thank them for sponsoring the Pegasus World Cup News Minute. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
NYRA Bets is the best play in online horse racing and betting. Bet from anywhere, anytime using your computer or mobile device. Earn valuable reward points on bets. Play in our exclusive promotions. Sign up now, NYRABets.com.